Okay, so get this. Someone sent us this whole collection of documents all about something called the Cosmeno-Realm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like a global urban culture thing, but they've got like symbols and rituals, even as leadership structure.
Sounds kind of like a secret society.
Right, but it's all woven into urban life, like it's hiding in plain sight. It's pretty wild.
It is interesting how they mix everyday stuff like music and fashion with these deeper ideas, almost spiritual, you know?
Totally. And get this, the whole thing seems to be inspired by the vibe of certain American cities,
Really?
especially Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's even this mysterious iron force that they say holds it all together.
Iron Force. I like that.
Right, so color me intrigued.
Makes you wonder just how big IS this Cosmeno-Realm thing. Is it just a small group or something much bigger?
And what does it tell us about the world today? I mean, you know it's going to mean something.
Right. Let's dig into these documents and see what we can uncover.
Okay, so from what I'm gathering, the Cosmeno-Realm is like a framework, a cultural framework that you find in cities all over the world. Like,
Global.
yeah, and it all revolves around this Cosmeno-Spirit,
Yeah.
which is, it's basically this idea of giving people a sense of belonging, a shared urban identity, no matter where they actually come from originally.
Interesting. So it's like an extra layer on top of your existing identity.
Right. And within this culture, they make this distinction between the Cosstream and the Cosmoground.
Ah, okay.
Think of it like the Cosmostream is the mainstream. It's got that American pop culture influence, very much so.
Okay, got it.
But the Cosmoground, that's where they say the real essence of the Cosmeno-Realm is.
The heart of it.
Exactly. It's like the independent, authentic heart of the movement.
That makes sense. A lot of subcultures have that push and pull, right?
Right.
Wanting to be part of something bigger, but still keeping their own unique thing.
Right, exactly. And our sources say even though they're influenced by the mainstream, the Cosmoground is where it's at.
Even if the Cosstream is more visible, more out there.
Yeah. What do you make of that?
It suggests a tension, doesn't it? A need to connect to the wider world, but also hold on to what makes them different.
Huh, yeah. Like they want to have their cake and eat it too.
Maybe. But that desire for individuality within a larger structure, it seems to be a theme here.
Yeah.
And speaking of structure, did you notice all those symbols? The Cosmicon symbols, I think they call them.
Oh, yeah, they're everywhere. Right, like all over their clothes, their documents, even their food packaging.
Interesting. What kind of symbols are we talking about?
Well, there are symbols for like the cosmos, the zodiac time elements.
Wow.
It's like their own visual language.
Yeah.
And they've got specific names for each category, like Luminicon, Zodicon, Timicon, Elementicon.
It's almost overwhelming, isn't it?
It is a lot to take in, but I think it shows how deeply they believe in this cosmic origin of the Cosmeno-Spirit.
Right. It's like a constant reminder of where they believe they come from.
Exactly. And it's not just symbols. They're really into colors, too. Blue, white, and black. You see those everywhere.
Huh. Each color has a specific meaning.
Right.
You know, blue represents the earth, white represents brightness, and black represents darkness.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Simple but effective.
Totally. And then there are these terms they use that just kind of jump out at you,
Like what?
like iron force. What do you make of that?
Iron Force.
Yeah. They describe it as this invisible soul binding all the Cosmeno realms together.
That's pretty deep.
Yeah.
We'll have to see if we can unravel that one as we go deeper.
Right. It's definitely intriguing. What about the realm orb? Have you come across that one?
Yeah, I saw that. It's this gemstone orb,
Yeah.
like a sanctuary almost.
It sounds pretty important to them.
Yeah, like a symbol of unity for each Cosmeno-Realm.
And it looks like certain cities hold special meaning for them too. London and Chicago in particular.
Really?
Yeah. London is considered the capital and Chicago the heart of the movement.
Interesting. So they've got their own geography too.
Right. Like their own internal map of the world. And speaking of key figures, there's the big mystery man himself, the great genius. This is the supposed mastermind behind the whole Cosmeno realm, the
Yeah.
one who got this urban culture going.
What do you think? Is this a real person, a myth, or something else entirely?
Honestly, I have no idea. It's like they're dropping these breadcrumbs leading us down a rabbit hole.
But let's shift gears for a second and talk about their music and dance scene.
Okay, yeah. That seems to be a pretty big deal in the Cosmeno realm.
From what I've seen, they even have their own names for the different styles, like house low beats and house high beats.
Right, I
Yeah.
noticed that too. What's the difference?
So house low beats is this deep, calm kind of house music. It's all instrumental and meant to reflect like the core identity of the Cosmeno.
Very zen.
And then you have house high beats, which is much more energetic, upbeat, Originally, it was only for the Rex Chiefs.
Right, Chiefs?
Yeah, that's just what they call their leaders.
Mm.
But now it seems like everyone's getting in on the action.
Huh. Interesting. And they use music to express like all kinds of emotions.
Right, even to communicate with each other.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
It is. And then they have all these variations on house music too, like vocal house, deep house, mellow house. They use those for ceremonies and festivals. And then they bring in disco classics and piano peace ballads for specific events.
So they've got a whole soundtrack for their lives.
They do. And the dancing is just as important.
Yeah.
They have house low moves, which are more about individual expression, and house high moves, which are more dynamic, and were originally only done by the Rex Chiefs.
I guess that goes with the house high beats then.
Makes sense,
Yeah.
right? And since they use music to communicate, like you said, the house high moves probably play a part in that too.
I wonder what kind of messages they're sending.
Me too. It's definitely a very expressive culture. And speaking of expression, their fashion is on another level.
Yeah, it's not just clothes. It's like a whole system full of meaning and symbolism.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Their fashion is all about communicating who they are, what they believe, and where they fit in within the Cosmeno-Realm.
Okay, so break it down for me. How does this fashion system actually work? They have all these specific terms for color combinations and styles. What's with the darkery, blaze flow, fleck on blank, blay on blank? I'm getting lost.
All right, let's start with the color symbolism because that's key.
Yep.
Darkery is all black, right?
Mm.
That represents darkness and mystery, and it's mainly for serious events.
Got it.
Blaze flow is a combo of red and black that signifies happenings and continuation. It's what they wear for their farewell rituals.
We'll have to get into those later.
We will. But for now, let's move on to fleck on blank.
Okay.
So that one is mostly white with black accents. It represents emptiness and uncertain occurrences.
Makes sense.
And then you've got bling on blank, which is similar, but with gold accents instead of black, symbolizing a happy event.
Interesting. So even their color combinations have specific meanings.
Oh, yeah. Everything's very
fun.
deliberate. It's fascinating.
Fascinating. And then there are all these culty terms, plain culty, rough culty. It's like they're obsessed with categories.
Well, they do have a lot of them, like semi-culty, contra-culty, sign-culty, free-culty, and even ID-culty. But to keep it simple, plain culty is basically color blocking with plain colors.
Okay.
And rough culty is similar, but they use textured fabrics like tie-dye or denim or even knitwear.
It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It is, but you got to admit it's creative.
Oh, absolutely. It's very impressive. Did you notice that tall tee thing? They seem to wear that a lot.
The tall tee.
Yeah, it's like an oversized, long t-shirt that they wear with different bottoms, almost like a uniform.
Right. It's a subtle way of signaling their identity.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're part of the Cosmeno-Realm.
Exactly. And then there are those headdresses.
The headdresses. Oh, yeah, those are hard to miss.
What's the deal with those? They have that grave beanie, which is just a simple black cap.
Right. That one's for serious ceremonies.
But then there's the heading cue, which is like they're actually drawing on their faces.
Yeah, heading cue involves tracing your hairline and sideburns with black and red lines. It's worn by the Rex chiefs and elders for farewell rituals.
Interesting. And then there's varied heading hue, which uses different color combinations and is for other ceremonies and festivals.
Right, so even their headdresses have specific meanings and are reserved for certain people and occasions.
It's all very carefully chosen. It's clear that every element of their fashion is symbolic. It's like walking art.
It is a powerful way to express their beliefs and identity. But let's move on to something a little more down-to-earth, their food.
Okay. What's special about Cosmeno cuisine?
Well, they have this thing called the Cosmeno Purity Law, which guides how they create their dishes and drinks.
Interesting. What's that all about?
It's all about keeping things pure and simple, using minimal ingredients.
So like a minimalist approach to cooking.
Exactly. And they have some pretty unique offerings too, like the dine dip, which is a seasoned tomato dip with all kinds of stuff added to it, and mash dish, which is seasoned mashed potatoes with added ingredients.
Okay, that sounds pretty basic.
Yeah, but they get creative with it. And then there's all fall, which is a grilled and mashed sweet vegetable dish.
That actually sounds pretty good.
And then you have the intriguingly named fritwich, which is basically fritters used as sandwiches or loaded up with fillings.
Fritters as sandwiches, I gotta try that.
Right. And then there's hotwich, which is like a sweet bun sandwich with unconventional fillings.
Interesting. So they're taking familiar foods and putting their own spin on them.
Exactly. And for dessert, they have blank bakes, which are pastries and fritters made with minimal ingredients, again, keeping it simple. And for drinks, it's flav water, and flav is basically infused waters and spritzers.
Okay, so they're pretty conscious of what they consume even when they're celebrating.
Right. They're big on festivities, too. They have these hospitainments events with Cosmeno food, music, and decoration.
And then there are realm fests, right? Those sound like a big deal.
Yeah, those are multifaceted events that incorporate hospitainments along with chop spots, motion spots, and game spots.
What are those?
So chop spots are restaurants serving Cosmeno-inspired cuisine. Motion spots are cinemas showing specific genres of films, and game spots are well places to play games.
So it's like a whole festival dedicated to their culture.
Exactly. But with all this structure and organization, it makes you wonder how they actually run this whole Cosmeno-Realm operation.
Right. It's not all fun and games. They must have some kind of leadership hierarchy.
They do. At the base level, you have the realmers, the people who actively live the Cosmeno lifestyle. And then they have Cosmeno-Zodiacan, which are like clans based on shared zodiac signs.
So you're telling me they're organized by astrology?
It seems that way. Each Zodiacan has its own unique characteristics.
Fascinating. And who's in charge of these groups?
The Cosmeno chiefs, they're elected leaders who oversee different aspects of the Cosmeno realm. And get this, they have this system called the Rex Chair, which is essentially like a cabinet of ministers, each focused on a different part of Cosmeno culture or social issues.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying they have their own parallel government?
It's pretty elaborate, isn't it? And their titles are pretty interesting, too. The prime chief is called the Realm Rex, and their advisor is called the Rexley.
Okay, I'm trying to keep up.
And then they have common chiefs who specialize in different areas, like the display Rex, the location Rex, the outer Rex, and the unseen Rex.
I'm really curious about what the unseen Rex does.
Me too. It sounds very mysterious.
Yeah.
And then they have a Cosmeno-Realm Council with 2 chambers. The Chamber of Commons is made up of elected members who are knowledgeable about street culture, pop culture, astrology, and spirituality.
Wow, they really cover all their bases.
And then there's the Chamber of Elders, which is appointed and made up of people with leadership experiences. It's like they've thought of everything.
They really have. So they've got their beliefs, their fashion, their food, their leadership. It's all starting to come together. But what about their rituals and practices? What do realmers actually do on a daily basis?
Well, they have this thing called the Cosmeno Access Class, which is basically educational lectures on all kinds of topics.
Like what?
Oh, you name it. Fitness music, football, self-defense games, education literature, even the occult and prophecies.
That's quite a range.
Right. It's all about stimulating your mind and getting access to knowledge.
Like a lifelong learning thing.
Exactly. And then they have these Cosmeno morlising rites, which are periods of abstinence and fasting.
Like a cleanse.
Yeah. It's about detoxing and personal growth, pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone.
Interesting. And they also have these cheer-giving performances where they review and comment on current events and trends.
It's like their way of staying connected to the outside world, but on their own terms.
So it's not just about withdrawing from society, it's about engaging with it in a thoughtful way.
Right. And then there are these final farewell rites, which sound pretty intense.
Yeah, I saw that there are elaborate ceremonies that mark the end of something called the reverse phase and saturave. They have specific roles, dress codes, activities, the whole 9 yards.
The final farewell rites seem to be like a culmination of everything we've talked about so far. Their beliefs, their rituals, their sense of community.
It's like a grand finale, a way of processing big existential questions through ritual and symbolism.
Exactly. We'll definitely have to dive into those in more detail later. But first, I think we need to understand this whole concept of the reverse phase and how it fits into their worldview.
You're right. Time seems to be a big deal in the Cosmeno realm. They've got their own calendar and these specific periods that dictate their activities.
It's all very structured, very deliberate.
So tell me about the reverse phase. What is it exactly?
It's a time for introspection, personal growth, connecting with the Cosmeno-Spirit.
Like a spiritual retreat.
Yeah, but woven into their everyday lives. They do practice morlising rites during this time, so there's definitely an element of self-discipline and reflection, but they also engage in specific access classes that focus on topics relevant to this period of introspection.
Interesting. So they're not just sitting around meditating. They're actively learning and growing.
Right. It's all connected. It's like a web with each thread representing a different aspect of their beliefs and practices.
And what about saturave? How does that fit in?
So saturave follows the reverse phase, and it's all about preparation and reflection leading up to the final farewell rites. They have these performances called back viewing and now viewing, where they analyze and comment on what's happening in the world.
So it's like a time to process everything they've learned and experienced during the reverse phase, both personally and in terms of world events.
Exactly. And then they use the final farewell rites to symbolically release it all and start fresh.
It's a pretty profound concept when you think about it.
It is, and it all revolves around this pivotal point in their calendar, the 11th lunar day, also known as Ekadashi. The timing of the final farewell rites is determined by this lunar cycle, and the specific roles people play in the ceremony are also dictated by their zodiac sign and the day of the week they were born on.
So it's all very interconnected.
Very much so.
We've got this intricate calendar system, these periods of introspection and reflection, these elaborate farewell rituals. But there's still one big question looming. Where did it all come from? Who or what is behind this Cosmeno-Spirit that drives their entire culture?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The sources are pretty vague on the specifics, but they do drop some tantalizing clues. They mention this figure called the Great Genius, an inventive genius from a cosmic kingdom who supposedly gifted humanity with the Cosmeno-Spirit.
A cosmic kingdom. That sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. Are they talking about aliens?
It's definitely open to interpretation. They also say that Chicago is where the Cosmeno-Spirit was first established, and this iron force we talked about earlier binds it all together.
Right, but beyond that, the true nature and purpose of the Cosmeno-Spirit remains shrouded in mystery.
It's almost as if they're intentionally leaving us with more questions than answers, inviting us to come up with our own theories and interpretations.
I have to say it's working. I'm hooked.
And that's just the beginning. We've only scratched the surface of this fascinating cultural phenomenon.
There's so much more to explore, from their elaborate fashion system to their unique culinary creations to their intricate rituals and practices.
I can't wait to dive deeper and see what other mysteries we can unravel.
We'll be back in part 2 of this deep dive to explore the specifics of the final farewell rites and see if we can shed some light on the origins of the Cosmeno-Spirit. Stay tuned.
So last time we were talking about those final farewell rites.
Yeah, it's like this big culmination of everything we've been learning about. Their calendar, the reverse phase, the more listing rites, all those amazing outfits.
It all builds up to this event.
Yeah.
And it's not just some casual gathering either. They've got specific roles, dress codes. I mean, they plan this thing down to the last detail.
They're serious about it.
Oh, yeah. It happens on the Saturday afternoon after every 11th lunar day, that Ekadashi we talked about, and it goes all the way until daybreak.
Wow. So it's like an all-nighter.
It is. And it marks the end of the reverse phase.
Yeah.
A saturate, like a symbolic closure.
What exactly are they saying farewell to?
That's the mystery, isn't it? Sources don't spell it out. But, you know, with all the emphasis on symbolism and spirituality,
Yeah.
maybe it's a way of letting go of negativity, or like a symbolic rehearsal for facing death and the unknown.
Whoa. Okay. That's pretty deep. Like they're grappling with those big questions through ritual.
I think so.
Yeah.
And speaking of rituals, can we talk about the roles involved in the final farewell rites?
Yeah, there's a whole hierarchy there too, right?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. The sources lay out this whole system for who does what. You've got the moon zodiborns, the people whose zodiac sign and day of the week they were born on,
Okay.
line up with the Ekadashi. They're like the hosts of the whole thing.
The stars of the show.
Exactly. And they wear this special attire called heading Q fit with extra blaze flow elements. So lots of red.
Makes sense. And what about the Moon Zodiborn elders?
They're like representatives for the moon zodiborns, and they also play a hosting role. They wear the same heading Q fit, but with both darkery, black, and blaze flow elements.
Interesting. So do you have to be born under a specific sign to participate in the final farewell rites?
Not at all.
Yeah.
They have a place for everyone. The folks who aren't part of the hosting zodiacan are called the moon zodiborn's loved ones.
Catchy name.
Right. They provide entertainment and can wear a heading Q fit, but without any color restrictions.
Yeah.
It's like the more inclusive part of the ceremony.
I like that. So everybody gets to join in.
And then you have the moon zodiacan.
Who are those again?
Those are members of the zodiacan whose sign falls on the date of the Ekadashi within that month.
Okay.
They're more like support staff,
Mm-hmm.
and they wear either darkery and blaze flow or blaze flow with white.
So they use the colors to distinguish roles and responsibility.
Exactly. It's all about the details. It makes you think of the final farewell rites as almost like a performance rite.
Totally. Like a carefully choreographed spectacle with all these layers of meaning.
Right. But it's not just about how it looks. It's about what actually happens during these rites.
So what do they do?
Well, they have all these different events and performances. One that stood out to me was the Rex Chief's reception.
Oh, yeah. What's that all about?
It's not like a meet and greet or anything. It's more like a ceremony with gestures and dancing, all set to house high beats music.
That high energy music we talked about?
Right. Yep. They use it here as a way to pay their respects to the Rex Chiefs.
So even in the middle of this intense ritual, they're still acknowledging their leaders.
It shows how important that hierarchy is to them.
For sure. And then what?
Then things take a more somber turn. They play Senihit's music with a sad or reflective mood.
Like morning songs?
Exactly. Or
Mm.
charity anthems. It's like they're shifting the energy, preparing for something more serious.
Wow. So it's like a whole emotional roller coaster.
The Cosmeno-Realm is all about contrast and symbolism, and they
Nice.
even incorporate those musical performances we talked about into the rites. They have the Senti Beats live set with live sentimental house music, and then the House High Beats live set makes the comeback with
Yeah.
the House High Moves dancing.
I love how they weave together all these different elements of their culture.
Right.
Music, dance, symbolism, leadership. It's all connected.
It creates this really rich tapestry of meaning, and they even include some of those cheer-giving performances we talked about, the out-viewing and trend viewing. They do those during the final farewell rites, too.
So it's like tying everything together in this one grand event.
Right, and then they have these figures who are specific to the final farewell rites.
Oh, okay. Like who?
You've got the farewell announcer who acts like the MC for the whole ceremony.
Oh, the hype man.
Yeah. And then there's the Phil orator who gives a speech about world affairs and death.
Death. That's a heavy topic.
It is. But they can do it in any style they want. Philosophical, humorous, satirical. It's up to them.
A Phil orator. Wow, that's a tough gig.
Talk about pressure. Right. But this whole conversation about the final farewell rites makes me think about something we haven't really touched on yet. The hospitainment.
Hospitainment. That's a new one. What is that exactly?
It's basically their version of catering, but it's not just about the food. It's a whole experience.
Like they're setting a mood.
Exactly. It's designed to reflect their values and beliefs.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Give me the details. What kind of food are we talking about?
They serve all their signature dishes, dine dip, mash dish,
Mhm.
all fall, fritwich, hotwich, blank bakes, you name it.
Okay, so the usual suspects.
And for drinks, it's the Flav Water and Flav Fizz.
So even when they're partying, they stick to their Cosmeno purity law.
You do. But it's not just about the food.
Yeah.
It's about the atmosphere, too.
Okay, so how do they decorate?
They use all their Cosmeno symbols, colors, even artifacts like the Realm Orb and pictures of places that are important to them, the Loki spots in London, Chicago, and their local town.
So it's like bringing their whole world into the event.
And then there's music, of course.
Of course, gotta have music.
They often have house high beats live sets, house low beats live sets, even dance splashes going on.
So it's a full-on sensory experience.
Definitely. And hospiteminas aren't just for the final farewell rites. They're a big part of Realm Fests, too.
Right, those big events with all the chop spots and motion spots.
The hospitainment is like the glue that holds it all together.
I see, so it's like a microcosm of the Cosmeno-Realm itself.
It showcases their food, their music, their aesthetic. It's all about creating this immersive experience.
And reinforcing that sense of community and shared identity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they don't just look inward. Remember that Cosmeno-Ketchagram we talked about?
Oh yeah, their own custom news network.
That's how they stay connected to the outside world. They tune into programs from their mother Lokis, the biggest cities in their countries of origin, and ground Lokis, the biggest cities in their current countries.
So they're plugged into what's happening both where they come from and where they are now.
Right. They're blending those influences.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are the globe Lokis, the
Mm.
mega cities like London, New York, Tokyo.
Right, this global hubs.
They include those in their Cosmeno-Ketchagram too, so they're definitely aware of what's happening on a global scale.
It's like they're creating their own version of global citizenship, but on their own terms.
It is fascinating. They're not rejecting the outside world. They're engaging with it in a critical and selective way.
I like that. So we've covered their beliefs, their fashion, their food, their rituals, even their leadership structure. But we still haven't really addressed that big question. Where did this Cosmeno spirit come from?
You're right, that's the ultimate mystery. The sources are pretty vague on the specifics. We've got those hints about the great genius from a cosmic kingdom, but it's all very open to interpretation.
It's like they want us to use our imaginations.
Maybe that's part of the appeal.
Mm-hmm.
They mention Chicago as the birthplace of the Cosmeno-Spirit and talk about this iron force that binds it all together, but the true nature and purpose of it all remain elusive.
It's like they're dropping these clues and challenging us to figure it out.
It's definitely working on me.
Yeah.
I'm more curious than ever.
Me too. So where do we go from here? What other mysteries are we going to uncover?
Well, in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to try to make sense of all this. We'll explore those questions about the origins of the Cosmeno-Spirit, examine some theories about its purpose, and try to understand what this whole movement tells us about the world we live in today.
Sounds good. I can't wait. All right, so we've made it to the final part of our deep dive into this Cosmeno-Realm thing.
It's been quite a journey.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground. Their customs, fashion, food rituals, leadership, even their way of staying connected to the world outside.
But there are still some big questions hanging out there.
Especially about the origins of this Cosmeno-Spirit. The deeper we go, the more I want to know where it all came from.
It's the mystery at the heart of it all, isn't it? We've got all these pieces of the puzzle, but the full picture is still fuzzy.
We know how the Cosmeno-Realm works, but that why is still out there.
Exactly.
Like those clues about the great genius from a cosmic kingdom, remember, supposedly the one who brought the Cosmeno-Spirit to humanity.
Right.
What are we supposed to make of that? It sounds pretty out there.
It definitely sparks the imagination. On one hand, we could take it literally. Like, imagine a being from another dimension, another planet, even sharing this blueprint for a new way of life.
Like some kind of alien benefactor.
It plays into that fascination we have with extraterrestrial life, right? The idea that there's something more out there.
I can see that appealing to a culture so into cosmic symbolism. But is that too simplistic?
Maybe. There's always the metaphorical interpretation, too. What if the great genius represents some kind of collective awakening? Like a burst of creativity that inspired this whole new way of being.
Or maybe it's about that human drive to connect, to build communities.
Right, like a force that goes beyond borders and cultures, bringing people together around shared beliefs and values.
Exactly. It's fascinating how the same source material can spark such different ideas.
That's part of what makes the Cosmeno-Realm so compelling. It doesn't tell you what to think. It invites you to engage with the material and find your own meaning.
So what about Chicago being the supposed birthplace of the Cosmeno-Spirit? Is there something about Chicago that makes it the perfect starting point?
It's an interesting choice. Chicago's got a vibrant art scene, a diverse population, incredible architecture. Maybe those elements resonated with the creators of the Cosmeno-Realm.
It's also a city with a lot of history, a lot of ups and downs.
Sure.
Maybe they saw something in that, a kind of resilience, a spirit of reinvention.
I like that. And remember, the Cosmeno-Spirit is said to be a fusion of urban spirits from several American cities.
Oh, right, not just Chicago.
New York, Los Angeles, Houston, too.
So it's not about elevating one city above the others.
Right. It's about recognizing that each of these urban centers has its own unique energy, its own contribution to the cultural landscape.
And by blending those influences together, they created something new.
A global urban culture that breaks down national boundaries and speaks to that universal desire for connection and belonging.
It's a powerful message, especially in a world that feels so divided at times.
It is, and it's a message that resonates with all kinds of people. Whether you're looking for a sense of community or you're fascinated by the mysteries of the universe, there's something in the Cosmeno-Realm that speaks to that deeper yearning for something more.
Okay, so we've been on this deep dive. We've explored all these different facets of the Cosmeno-Realm. What's the takeaway for our listener? What have we learned from all this?
I think it comes down to the power of creative expression, the importance of ritual and symbolism in our lives, and that fundamental human need for connection, for belonging.
It also reminds us that there's always more to learn, more perspectives to consider, more mysteries out there waiting to be uncovered.
Absolutely. The Cosmeno-Realm is a testament to the incredible creativity of the human spirit. It shows us that even in our modern tech-driven world, there's still room for magic, for mystery, for a sense of wonder.
It's definitely given me a lot to think about. And who knows, maybe there's a Cosmeno-Realm right under our noses waiting to be discovered.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
The Cosmeno-Realm exists wherever people choose to create it.
So keep your eyes open, embrace the unknown, and you might just stumble upon your own connection to this fascinating cultural phenomenon.
You never know what you'll find.
And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the Cosmeno-Realm. But the exploration doesn't have to end here. Keep digging, keep questioning, and keep diving deep. Until next time.